Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Podcast. And yes, the offense finally came alive to salvage one in Cincinnati. Luke Stuckmeyer and Cody Delmendo after the Cubs pound the Reds 13-4. We will tell you on this podcast why Craig Council is lucky, in my opinion, that it went this way, because I was ready to rant.
Listen,
but it didn't happen, and they came up with 13 runs and 17 hits.
Yeah, I'm normally the one yelling here, so I'd love to hear you yell some more. I think the people would love to hear you yell some more, honestly. Also, our Instagram page would like to hear you yell more, because our Instagram page just has a lot of my face on it. So, please yell.
Well, maybe we could just superimpose my face and do, like, cut out in the mouth and just have you do the ranting for me. Hey, we had 6 Cubs with at least 2 hits. PCA had 2 hits. Paredes had 2 hits, his first 2 hits with the Cubs. Happ and Bellinger with 3 hits apiece. Okay, obviously it's one game because the rest of the series they had no offense. But can we get something in between this for the Cardinals series coming up? Like, I don't need 13 runs and just give me 6.
If they score 13 runs every game the rest of the season, they'll probably make the playoffs, though, Luke.
They might. They might.
They are the Cubs. They'd probably find a way to mess it up. But, yeah, no, I hear you. I felt like all 3 games, I felt like the Cubs had good at-bats, just a lot of, hard hit balls in the gloves. Like, I know we've said that a lot all season, but in this series, I think it's pretty evident. They've hit a lot of hard hit balls to the warning track. Thankfully, Happ hit one out tonight. I think of anyone, I'm really encouraged about PCA after this game. His last couple of games, he's had better at bats. He's been putting the ball in play. He's been hitting the ball hard to all fields. Stole another base tonight. Drove in 2 runs with the double that he hit. Tried to link it into a triple. I don't know what he was doing on the rounding third or rounding second.
I still don't know what happened. I hope Ryan is able to get him in the clubhouse and find out exactly what happened on the play. We hope that Ryan Herrera is going to join us because he's still in Cincinnati.
He is.
I thought he was driving back tonight. He's in Cincinnati.
But he'll join us later. They got the offense going early tonight. Bethancourt had an RBI single.
Threw out a guy at third.
Yeah, he threw out a guy at third. Like, we have apparently Christian Bethancourt is our new secret weapon. But yeah, Seiya had RB. He drove in 2 with a double. Paredes doing what he does with the extreme pull power. I guess his very first hit would have been a home run at Tropicana Field. Ironically, 2 doubles, which good to see him get off the schneid. He also got hit by a pitch, so he was technically on base 3 times tonight, which is more than Morel for all of you in the chat who are still screaming about it. And Belly had 3 hits. I mean, the offense was good tonight. You scored 13 runs, you're gonna get a lot of production. But I'm with you though on it's just been the story of the season. How much you want to bet now they're gonna score? I'll set the line at 2.5. Over under 2.5 runs tomorrow.
First game against the Cardinals.
I don't even know. It doesn't even matter. Honestly, it doesn't even matter who pitches tomorrow for the Cardinals. Over under 2.5 runs for the Cubs tomorrow. I think a lot of people in the YouTube chat would take the under.
Yes, I would. And Barb.
That's the story of the season.
The live YouTube chat is up and running. A lot of the regulars there, I see the godmother of the CHGO Cubs podcast. Barb is there to let us know that Morel hit 2 home runs. He's now hit 2 in 2 games. And
I had no idea.
First 2 games. Thank you guys
for reminding me. Thanks for reminding me.
20 on the season.
I had no idea that Morel had any home runs today.
Gutted the system. Anyway, and Becky's
back. The system.
Becky is back from her concert last night, but we still don't know what concert it was.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of questions I want to know by the end of the night.
Yeah.
Again, 13 runs, 17 hits. So, yeah, the offense was good.
Nick G says Sonny Gray starting tomorrow for the Cardinals. So, yeah, take the under 2.5.
Yep.
Even though they did score like 3 runs off him in St. Louis, like before the All-Star break. But anyway.
Ethan says Hendricks masterclass as I foretold Cody.
Ethan did tell me that on TikTok
Cody
today.
is what I told him Friday when we were sitting with Gary and Sean and the gang at the watch party in Schaumburg at Miller's Ale House. In that game we were watching, I said, Hendricks 4 shutout innings. Get him out of the game. And I was only somewhat joking against the Royals. But then they put 2 on base, and I said, get him out of the game. They were soft hits, right? It was nothing. But against Hendricks and where he's at in his career, you just knew what was coming. I said, this is gonna be a grand slam or a 3-run homer here coming. And 5 seconds later, it was 6-0 Royals. And it was like that to me, that whole game was on Council. They could have swept the Royals.
Yeah.
Okay? Then tonight, I walked in here and I said, just get Hendricks out after 4 innings. Don't let him get through there the third time to see him. And so 4 shutout innings coming through. And what happened? 3 runs in the 5th. So I went back and looked. Yep. Arizona game. Hendricks, scoreless 4 innings, then 3 runs in the 5th. Kansas City, scoreless 4 innings, 6 runs in the 5th. Cincinnati, scoreless 4 innings, 3 runs in the 5th. Listen, I know they were up 6-0, but when they got a couple guys on base, you need to know in your how can somebody as dumb as me? I know nothing. How can I look at that the last 3 games and just be like, he's going to give up a home run here? You realize there's a home run coming. Now, it didn't matter because they scored 13 runs. But they got another base runner on after the 3-run homer, and I was like, this is real close to being a 6-5 game for no reason. Like, have somebody ready. It's Hendricks. Don't you know who's pitching? I just don't get it.
I think we talked about this on the couch. Like, it's 2 different scenarios. Not only 2 different games, but 2 different scenarios. In the game against the Royals, it was 0-0.
That was malice.
All right? It was 6-0 in this one. I'm not saying what you're saying is completely wrong. I'm just thinking that if I'm Craig Council and you're thinking about you got an important series against the Cardinals starting tomorrow, you need a fresh bullpen.
Did you see how fast they got 6 runs off him in Kansas City?
After
4 scoreless.
And at the very least.
And that's why I said just wait till if there's traffic on the bases, you got to get them out. So you got to have somebody at least ready to warm up.
Sure. They did listen to you in some aspects because the very next inning they put in Drew Smiley, and that was after they tacked on more insurance runs. It was 9. I believe Drew Smiley entered the game when it was 9-3.
Yeah, Smiley did a nice job, by the way.
So,
Smiley said you didn't want to trade for me?
Right? I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think it's 2 different scenarios. When you're up 6-0, it's a lot different than if it's a tie game. Yeah. Your scenario with the Royals, I understand it a little bit more because it was such a tight game. And in that game, after he gave up the 2 runs with the guys that were on base, that they should have had someone up and warming in that moment for him to come out after he gave up the 2 runs.
I could be wrong.
Instead, they let him stay out there and he gave up the grand slam to Salvador Perez. In this game, again, 6-0.
Right. I just feel like, and I could be wrong, and tell me if I am, it feels like this year the 2 pitchers that can have it get out of hand quickly on them, Wisniewski and Hendricks. Right? When something goes wrong, you're like, oh boy, let's not let this get out of hand too fast. And that's, like I said, 6 runs last game, and it was almost 5 runs this game, whether you were leading or it was tied. And
I don't disagree with
lucky
that.
for Council, the offense came to play tonight. So anyways, they get out of it, and they're very fortunate, in my opinion, to have won 13-4. If that's possible. I don't know. Hendricks was fine. And, a lot of people have said this is it for him. And the only way he'd ever be back next season is if somehow he'd take a very small contract. I just don't think that's even likely, because even if Kyle Hendricks agreed to come back for just say $2 million, if Kyle Hendricks agreed to come back for basically playing for free in Major League standards, he's not going to go pitch at Iowa. So you still would have to have a spot for him in the rotation or as long relief. And aren't they most likely going to want to start to go to some of the younger guys? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, unless you're going to move Assad to the bullpen right out of the gate. Unless you're going to move Ben Brown right out of the gate to the bullpen. Which I guess you could, and then maybe you'd have some pitching depth. But I would assume this is going to be the last season for Kyle.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's pretty clear. And it is, I know at the beginning, the first 2 months of the year, which feel like a decade ago, we sat here and kind of defended him as much as we could because he always, like, he's known for getting off to slow starts.
Yeah.
But he was so bad that he got put in the bullpen and then was forced back in the rotation because of injuries. And I'll give him some credit. Since the beginning of June, once he got put back in the rotation, he's been pretty solid. Yeah, he's had some starts where it hasn't gone too well, but, you know, at the end of the day, the stat line says he gave up 3 earned tonight. All right?
Right. That's what bugs me.
But just a few starts ago, he shoved like 8 innings down the Cardinals' throats. He owns the Cardinals, okay?
7 shutout against the Cardinals.
I don't really know, like, the what we know for sure is if they were healthy, there's no way that Hendricks would be in the rotation. He didn't even earn the spot back in the rotation. You know, like, so I think for what he is at this point, you're probably fine with it. I don't disagree with what you're saying, though, about how you need to get him out earlier. It's more just about the scenario. Like, you have to think about down the road, too.
I like Kyle. I think, and most Cubs fans do.
You've been defending him the most this season.
That's right. We were in Studio B when I was like, he had that one bad start, and I read, DFA. I'm like, listen, you're going to regret this. Let Kyle figure it out. He's a guy that can figure it out. The velocity is still there. The same velocity he was pitching in 2016. Let him figure it out. And he's older. He's not the guy he was in 2016, but he's going to give you some quality starts. He's going to win you some games before it's all said and done. And he has done that. But some of these other games that he's now lost at the end, if you look at them, my point is they're not really Hendricks' fault. It's the way the manager has decided to play the game. Because if you really know Kyle Hendricks, and sure, he got the 7 shutout against St. Louis, but in the 3 since then, he gave you shutout 4, shutout 4, shutout 4. And so it was your decisions after that led to 3 runs, 6 runs, and 3 runs.
All right.
There's plenty of pitchers that aren't throwing 5, 6, 7 innings anymore. And maybe you say this, listen, I don't know. If you want to have this fantasy land where you think you're still trying to get to a postseason bid, now was 7 or 6 games or whatever it is behind the third wild card, go ahead, but then you better start winning a lot of these games and doing everything you can, and that includes getting Kyle out after 4.
Would you rather the manager think about, or how do I word this without sounding like a complete idiot? Would you rather the manager care about the now, in the moment, in regards to taking a pitcher out, rather than thinking about how it might be a domino effect down the road?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. I would say you start to try and win games and start worrying who's left. I mean, last year they had nothing left at the end.
Yeah. But
at least they thought they had a chance until they ran out of gas. I'd rather run them into the ground until they run out of gas.
Well, you know what? Like this entire conversation, I'm not saying it's a dumb conversation. However, they did win 13-4.
I was going to say, this is the longest litigation of a manager decision in a game that's the
I've never seen Luke more mad about Craig Council.
It's the maddest I've been at Craig Council since last Friday.
And it's the maddest you've ever been.
He's making Kyle Hendricks look bad at the end of his career, and it's not fair.
It's the maddest Luke has ever been in a 9-run win.
He's never been more mad on this podcast.
Hendricks was great
after a 13-4 win against the Reds.
They were lucky to win 13-4, Craig.
You sound like Godfather. I imagine Godfather he's just sitting and he's clapping for you right now. He's just sitting in his chair watching us on YouTube.
Godfather's in his Barca lounger right now saying they still got no closer.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Ryan Herrera hopefully will join us in a little while from Cincinnati. He was at the game. He's in the clubhouse. Maybe we'll find out what was going on with Pete Crow-Armstrong running to third base. I still don't know. But first, Family Farms. They were here today cooking up for us for the White Sox watch-along. Cody had some chicken.
Oh, my God. The
Cajun.
bacon wrap chicken.
Woo!
Oh, buddy.
Their culinary journey is woven with passion, dedication, and commitment to crafting the finest bacon wrap chicken, a timeless delicacy that has tantalized taste buds since 1974. Join them on this flavorful adventure where every bite tells a story of tradition, quality, and the enduring spirit of Family Farms. Their tradition continues. Now you can find Family Farms bacon, wrapped chicken, even easier. Look for us in the meat department at your local Woodman's, Mariano's, and Burcott's. Craving a taste of home without leaving yours? Check out the baconwrapchicken.com or click on the link in our Amazon store, which also includes the legendary Rocky Rococo Italian sausage. Sorry about that, Rocky. And to find out when our new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will be available with an authentic Louisiana bite. Cody said, give me some.
Yes.
Woo, you went after that hard. Experience the flavor that's become a family favorite for generations. Visit your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, and Burcott's, or on Amazon, baconwrappedchicken.com. That's our friends from Family Farms.
I love that it's baconwrappedchicken.com. Like the easiest website to remember if you're for something like that.
We got Charlie the Bacon Guy. We got Family Farms, Bacon Wrapped Chicken.
It's so good, by the way.
It's
just
the
to
easiest
emphasize
website for Matt Pack to remember.
Yes. Easiest site for the meat lovers out there. Also, a really easy site you should get to know, Sunnyside. All right. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free campus shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, Luke. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. It has expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. It's Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, like in Wrigleyville and River North, to the suburbs, even all the way down to Champaign, all the way up to South Beloit and more. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, we've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu, like I said. The new ones added weekly. They know you'll love Cresco and Florcal's incredible quality and consistent products. It's easy to order online, and they're here to help in store. Here for the summer is Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course, maybe for the kickoff classic later in August. You know, just a thought.
Sunnyside and a little bacon wrapped chicken in your back pocket.
Yeah, just put in your back pocket, baby.
Stay warm on the course.
because they all know we need a little help staying loose on the green. Get that Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, right? Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
We got to get an ad partnership going with one of those stretch places, Stretch Lab or whatever. What do they call those?
Like a chiropractor?
Just someone to give you a good stretch. Give you a good stretch. The older you get, boy, stretch.
I could use a stretch.
A good stretch.
Yeah.
Right before I play golf, I need a good stretch. Joey knows. He's seen me. If my swing is too tight, then I'm not going to be any good that day.
Me and Luke are like we're like Tiger and Phil out there.
We got to be stretched. You got to be stretched. If you're tight,
when we're hitting
then
them
the
right,
slice is too strong.
Look out. Best round of golf ever.
You should have seen this putt. I hit it at the what a putt.
We have a super chat.
We got a super chat?
Yeah, we do.
Let's see it. What do we have?
BT Goal 342. $5. Is there going to be a beer bat chug? I miss making tweets about them. Is this the guy?
Oh,
the famous guy that made the beer bat
BT
account?
Goal is 342 is our
Cody beer bat account
beer bat
on Twitter. Wow, welcome BT Goal.
Thanks for the $5.
They lost the series. I just don't. Even though they won 13-4,
we won't celebrate.
I'm just like, I know I said at the All-Star break, I was like, oh yeah, bringing them back. And then what did? They lose the first 2 series. Then they won the series against the Royals. And it's more like, okay, can we build something here? Like I'm back in the feeling of, you gotta get back to 500 or close to 500 to even for me to consider doing it for every win. If they win the series against the Cardinals, yeah, I'll do one for on Sunday if they win the series, or if they win the first 3, I'll do one Saturday night. And if they win the first 3 of this series against the Cardinals, I'll find a way to get a little delusional. But,
it was suggested tonight in the office that because Hendricks was pitching and we should celebrate him the rest of the season, that you should do a 28-second beer bat chug every time he pitches. He
Well,
did pick up the W, did he not?
That wouldn't even be a chug.
Picked up the win.
That'd just be a sip. If you give me 28 seconds to
Kyle
drink
Hendricks, 28-second sip.
it, 28 seconds sip? Yeah, sure.
It's just a thought. It's
I don't
just
know.
a thought.
I'm
How
not
many
trying
do
to
you
be
get?
a Debbie Downer about it. I don't think Luke is either, but we're just being real about it, man. Like, what are they, still 6 games under?
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't either, but like,
We got to talk about something, but why don't we? You know what? Let's talk about this. Jed Hoyer was on the score with Parkinson Spiegel. And he came on and they asked a couple of hard questions that, not being able to see Jed and being stuck in my car, I couldn't tell if there was a delay back and forth or if he was actually pausing to try and gather himself for some of the answers. Okay. I think the one that caught the most attention from people on Twitter and afterwards was Danny Parkins said, listen, I don't know if I should say this as basically a talk show host, but I think you need a star, which we've said 1,000 times on this podcast. Like they have some really good, some really nice players, but they don't have a superstar. You need a star. And then he said, are you fundamentally opposed to giving star players a contract worth $300 million or more? And Jed had a roundabout way of saying, no, I don't, but, there's a lot of risk when you sign those guys. And then the second half, I think this is really important. He said, I'm not fundamentally opposed to it. I do think that I'm probably more risk averse on those kinds of deals. Those are the deals you sign the truly elite. I think there's obviously a lot of risk in them, but fundamentally, are there players in the league that I think are definitely worth it? Absolutely. Okay. Which led to the follow-up from Speak saying, well, there's Soto's going to be on the market this offseason, and he's going to get more than 300. Are we going to be in on that? And Hoyer took the easy way out by saying, well, I can't comment. Basically, he can't comment on a player that's on another team. He's like, it's against team rules, so I'm not going to comment on that.
which is what he's done that for years.
Sure, but even when free agency starts, he's not going to say that.
Yeah, they're very quiet, man.
If they're ever going to be in on somebody like that, it's Soto. It's going to be under the radar.
Yeah.
Flying under the cloak of darkness. In on one of those dragons from the Targaryens, just kind of swooping in low. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, so the question is, are the Cubs against that? Because Hayward's still the biggest contract, and then Swanson.
Yeah.
There was a
They
time
don't even have a $200 million
for
player.
a long time. This is the only thing I want to say, where even a $200 million contract in baseball was an albatross in a lot of ways, and there was teams that did not do a lot of winning. And this was at a point though where there was, the number of those contracts was much smaller. But I can go, Prince Fielder, Scherzer was one of the ones that did work. But I'm Jason Worth, and it's more in that mid 2010s. And these were only $200 million contracts. And I think teams have gotten more willing to give them away. And like Jed said, there's a lot of players that are for sure worth it in the league. But there are also players that are getting it or getting close to it that are not worth it. And I agree with Jed's stance that you have to be careful if you're going to give. I mean, obviously there's no hard cap in baseball, but Tom Ricketts is not going to spend $1 billion. Yeah. They're not going to do that. No team is. And so, yes, you have to be willing to spend, but it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I think though? It's become the price of doing business. And to me, more dangerous than $500 million for Shohei deferred for 10 years or $400 million for Soto, let's defer it for 10 years, why not? Or something like that, or Bryce Harper for his deal, or whoever you want to take, the $300 million guys. I think more dangerous than the truly superstar players, which we know Soto is, which we know Ohtani is. More dangerous than that is just handing out $100 million to guys that you're not even sure that they're really even all-star players. To me, those deals, you get 3 of those and you can't move those either. And to me, that's like he's saying, sometimes some of these guys are worth it. The future Hall of Famers. Soto's a future Hall of Famer.
Already?
So I know.
Yeah,
absolutely, he will be a Hall
He's
of
on
Famer.
that track. But you're saying,
unless injuries derail
how are
him,
you
you know
gonna
what?
gawk-
You have no guarantee on any player for that.
there's no reason to gawk at giving Juan Soto $300 million if you're going to give Dansby Swanson $177.
300. He's
Correct. He's going to get closer to 500.
Yeah, he's going to
But
get
I'm
4
saying
at least.
there's no reason to bat an eye.
I
there
agree.
is, but if you're gonna, that's what I'm saying is that's where the contracts are at. You've got guys like Dansby Swanson getting 177. Like he hasn't produced at that to be worth that dollar amount, and so
not this year at least.
Not this year at least. Who knows how that contract will age in the future, and we'll see. Even look at that Bogarts deal. Like I just think
10 years, 180.
But I mean,
or 280. I mean,
the Phillies have multiple $200 million contracts.
Right.
Like I know the Cubs haven't given out a $200 million contract, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be willing to give out a $400 million contract in the offseason.
Well, we're all these months past the Ohtani stuff. Back in December or whatever it was, we all sat here, we watched everything come out. All the reports saying the Cubs offered $550 million or whatever it was. And then all the other stuff that came out that basically showed that Ohtani just kind of
he always wanted to go down.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I know you can't
what do
guarantee
you
a guy, but hey, I hope you watched that Ohtani deal, and now when you come to the table, you said, would you like us to defer that, or would you like it up front? How do you want it? How do you want your truckload of cash, Juan Soto?
Listen,
you tell us.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that like the
Craig
idea
Brindle agrees with me.
The idea that perhaps they've never offered it, I'm not, especially for someone like Ohtani. Like you can believe whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you.
We don't know what but they weren't in on Harper. Harper was too.
That's
rich.
true, but that's more on ownership than it is Jed or in that time Theo Epstein. Am I wrong there?
No, they just have never landed one of these truly massive deals.
So I mean, yeah,
he's risk adverse to that. All right, we'll see.
Well, okay,
he didn't say he would. He didn't say he wouldn't do it, but I'll tell you that the tone of it was, I'm not really that into it.
Sure,
that's the way it felt listening to it.
Well, there's no evidence that says that he will because he never has.
Right.
So until he actually does it, we have the right to sit here and assume that he's not going to do it. But who's to say that he wouldn't do it either?
He also was asked about
and also this last offseason outside of Ohtani and Yamamoto, who else was you given a massive contract to? The year before that,
Judge.
The year before that,
I dreamed of Aaron Judge.
The one Stuckey and I have had this
Wrigley.
Conversation before. The Bryce Harper one is really the one that you can go back and point and say.
But that's not Jed Hoyer.
No, I agree 100%, but I'm just saying
that's
if
not
you
even
look
Theo
at
Epstein,
all
that's
of their big fishing to go get a star player, guys don't grow on trees, but Bryce Harper is probably their best opportunity to go and do that 100%. By the way, I like, and it's not exactly what we're talking about, but like, not going to be easy to pull Juan Soto from the Bronx. Massive Dominican population there. They're winning.
Yeah.
They're obviously
very difficult,
if not the most popular sport in franchise in all of sports. And so, well, we'll see. The Cubs didn't get a discount to sign Bellinger, who's a Boris client. So I don't. I'm sure he's going to hit the market, but we'll see.
That's what they were getting at. Like, listen, you've got players seemingly locked in at left field, right field, shortstop. Seems like you have your first baseman. You might have your third baseman. Okay, you don't have catcher, but where can you make the big changes and where can you get this superstar player? It seems like they're sort of, I don't want to say they're in a situation like the Bulls are, but they are. It does seem like they're a little stuck in the middle ground of, all right, now how do you take the next big leap and how do you move things around to get that big deal? And when asked about, could you have made more deals? And what about the comment that you made yesterday saying we had another deal lined up and a team backed out at the end, which we've heard before. And he just said, it's really hard to make trades. And I believe him, obviously. It's really hard to make trades, but also that's why you're the general manager. That's why you're in Theo's role now. That's why you get paid the big bucks. I know it's hard. It's also hard to hit 50 home runs, but that's the guy we want on our team.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to win championships, but that's what you get paid to bring here. That's the job. That's why you have one of the best GM jobs or president jobs in all of professional sports because they believe you can get it done. So now he's got to go get it done. I think he's got a huge off season.
Well,
because if it doesn't happen next season, boy, that seat better be hot if it's not already.
It has to be hot now. Yeah.
Speaking of hot, let me tell you, we're also gonna talk about what he said about some of the prospects coming up and some of those things. But let me tell you what's hot: the weather. The weather's hot. And some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon, created at Coors Field in Denver. It's the natural choice all summer long. Summertime shy is here. The heat snuck up on me today. All of a sudden it was 80. Then it was 85. Then it was 90. Then it felt like my car said 98 on the way in as I sat in traffic. I thought to myself, if I wasn't in this car right now, I'd be sitting with a Blue Moon and a slice of orange somewhere.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you. So I had one when I got here. Nothing beats watching baseball or lounging by the pool or sitting watching Cubs baseball like an ice-cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for a game or the season or just a summer day. Beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all season long and bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
I didn't win a bet tonight, but I wish I would have placed this bet on Circa tonight. I just told everyone to do it because it's death, taxes, Ian Happ in Cincinnati. I tweeted tonight.
And you didn't do it.
I didn't bet it myself because I've retired unofficially. I'll come out of retirement eventually. But I told everyone on Twitter to bet Ian Happ to hit a homer tonight because he never leaves Cincinnati without hitting a homer. Lo and behold, he hits one to dead center tonight. Could have had good odds, best odds on someone in my replies. Dave, he always comes to Friday 120 clubs. He replied to my tweet, said that best odds. He found the best odds on him tonight. Over because he said he did it the first two games too.
Yeah, see,
but he got the best odds tonight. So
I believe what Cody was saying. He walked in. He said, "Folks, circa the wagons around an Ian Happ home run."
Yes, circa the wagons around an Ian Happ home run. Or if you had Cubs money line, I bet they had the best odds on circa tonight because the games strive to be a -110 split on their menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120 split. Circa Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to other books. Circa Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. They encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available so you compare the lines from each sportsbook. There are real people behind the Circa Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. All aspects of their app are being run by the same team that runs this main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events like watch parties and our Bears tailgates coming up here for this football season. They're also with us for every Friday 120 club. In 2 days, we're coming down the wire. We got 2 months left. We only have a handful of Friday home games left.
Hard to believe.
I know the haters are out there and blaming me and Braggs for the Cubs losing on Fridays. Y'all are a bunch of losers. But Circa is not, because they come and hang out with us no matter what. All right. So if you are someone you may know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Text GMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
Cubs win big, 13-4 over the Reds. We're also talking a little bit about Jed Hoyer's interview with Parkins and Spiegel on the Score. And we're also waiting for Ryan Herrera to join us from beautiful Cincinnati, where he's been hanging out.
Can you put
on the Kentucky border?
Can you put beautiful and Cincinnati in the same sentence?
No, and hot and humid is what I like to call it. And hopefully we'll find out whether or not Ryan took some time this morning or this afternoon before going to the ballpark to get some Skyline chili to give us his review.
That's been the most important thing all week.
I mean, this game was meaningless. Why not go get some chili? Like,
yeah, who cares about the trade deadline? I'm caring about if Ryan thinks Skyline Chili is good or not.
I mean, cheap chili, there's a chance you're going to have an uncomfortable night in the press box, but, you run that risk.
Yeah.
You go for it. Everybody in there is probably doing it.
So I know we're talking about Jed Hoyer and everything. I guess the rest of my 2 cents about what he said regarding free agents and stuff.
$300 million.
And $300 million. The whole thing is the Cubs have always had the resources. He has openly said that they have the resources. They easily, this past offseason, I guess you can say in terms of free agency, he gets somewhat of a pass because this past free agency class kind of sucked. And the guys that they passed on, in hindsight, looks pretty good that he did. It's good that they didn't sign Jordan Montgomery. He hasn't been very good for the Diamondbacks.
Good that he got Imanaga.
Yeah, it's good that he signed Shota Imanaga. Yeah, it's good that he didn't sign Blake Snell. He's been hurt and not very good for the Giants until recently.
Yeah,
right?
very recently he's been very good.
Even I'm trying to think of the other. Oh, Matt Chapman. I guess if they signed Matt Chapman, then who knows? They might have traded Christopher Morel earlier, and all of you still mad about the trade would be still mad about it, but be mad about it a lot longer, I guess. I thought the whole reason they never signed Matt Chapman was to play Christopher Morel at third base. So, I
still don't think that was wrong, even though I think the trade was correct. The right move at the right time was put him in at third, sink or swim, man. See if you can do it. We're going to let you play it out, and you tell us if you can play a position.
So, in closing, this past offseason, he gets a little bit of a pass just because there wasn't really anyone out there. In my opinion, I'm still not, Josh Hader, still not a fan of paying a bunch of money for a closer. The teams that do it, they don't necessarily win. All right. So, to me, maybe beforehand, Dansby's been bad this year. We talked about it before, but he's good last year. Maybe you should have signed Correa instead, but he almost signed with like 3 different teams because of the whole physical thing, right? We knew Trey Turner was going to the Phillies. You knew you tried for Bogarts. You even tried to use John Lester to recruit him.
Thank goodness it didn't work.
And didn't work. He's been pretty bad this year for the most part. And they've already moved him off shortstop to play second base because he's not as good defensively there. And then you go back the year before that when they had basically entered. That's when they first entered the rebuild after the 2021 season. And maybe, that's the one off season where I'm like, well, if they didn't really want to do a rebuild, you could have signed Corey Seager, they chose a direction. Would have signing Corey Seager, having one good player on a team that was going to be bad, would that have been smart? I don't know. I don't think they win the World Series 2 years after they did that like the Rangers did, My point is in terms of Jed and spending or giving out a $300 million contract, while the Cubs themselves haven't done it ever, let alone a $200 million contract, outside of Bryce Harper, which again was more of a ownership thing, and also Theo Epstein was the guy at the time, Jed hasn't necessarily had a lot of options outside of Aaron Judge, which I always thought he was going back to the Yankees anyway. So I understand money talks, but I genuinely feel like Aaron Judge just wanted to go back to the Yankees. And Turner wanted to go to the Phillies.
Stop making sense, Cody. All right, so
I'm sorry for making sense. What do you want me to say, though?
I just want him to have a superstar player.
Well, same. Dude, I've been saying that for 3 months.
They need a superstar.
I've been saying it for 3 months, okay? That's why I said in the last offseason, because the free agent market wasn't so good, that it was the perfect time to get creative on the trade market because you have a top 5 farm system in baseball. That's where they could have potentially got one. I don't know who the players they could have been out there getting. I dreamed about Jose Ramirez. I'm trying to manifest Vladimir Guerrero Jr., all these things. But, I'm not in the offices at 1060 West Addison, man. I'm just being
as
a fan.
hard as it is. We've tried to get you in there.
I know. They just don't.
We've got it. We have a poster on our wall that says Del Mendo Del No.
Yeah. They won't even give me a media pass. Shit, they just like, get that guy out of here.
Get him out of here. Hey, so one other thing Hoyer was talking about with Parkinson Spiegel was, I believe the question that led up to this comment was, well, if some of these games don't mean anything down the stretch, might we start to see some of these young players come up, and how many? You know, what can we look forward to at the end of the season if the games don't mean anything? And Hoyer basically talked about, he basically said it's harder right now than ever for prospects to try and come up and hit right away because of the way pitching has started to develop. You know, the specialized relievers, everybody's throwing 95 now, and they've got computers that can tell them how to change a pitch in the middle of a season as opposed to having to wait off seasons. And guys can tweak a pitch between starts for a guy if they really, really want to. And there's just so many ways for pitchers to be in command of the game right now. And we see
and be one step ahead of hitting.
Always one step ahead right now.
Yep.
He even went to the point to say he's not even sure that he's like, I don't know if 2015 could happen again in this game today. Just think how fast the game has changed in that. Like, they had hitter come up, and they all worked and they all hit right away. And he's saying that not even 10 years later, the game has changed so much that he doesn't think that many young players could come up and all be successful at the same time. And it was rare then, right? Mm-hmm. But it leads me to PCA. Like, what do you take from this season? We've seen some positives. We've seen some horrible swings, and we know the philosophy that he came out and said. They told me, don't even worry about offense.
Yeah. Well, as far as what Jed said, you know, the Orioles are making a good case to be wrong about that. Mm-hmm. That said, they purposely tanked for like 5 years like the Cubs did, and they had Adley Rutschman.
Tanked better,
yeah,
but yeah.
They haven't won a World Series.
No, not yet, but they are.
You can't say they tanked better if they haven't won a World Series, all right? Just take that back, okay?
No, in the last 5 years.
What?
More recently, their tank has been better than the Cubs rebuild. I'm not saying
they've tanked about as good as you can tank, and the rest of winning the World Series once you they've tanked as well as you can, and we'll see if they win the World Series.
The White Sox tanked bad.
They've set themselves up to
they've set themselves up to win a World Series potentially, but they haven't. Okay,
no, they have not.
That is the point. But the point I'm making is that they tanked so much that they were getting like number one, like top 5 draft picks,
right?
You know, and Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holliday, and who's now just coming up, hit a grand slam today actually. But they have other guys too that have come up. Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, Gunner's
like
good.
they tanked really well, right? And now they have the new rule with the White Sox, as bad as they are, they're not even going to have the number 1 pick next year. They're going to pick like 10th, 10th or 11th or something like that, right?
Could be the worst team in the history of the game, but they won't get the number 1 pick.
No, they won't. But so like that's kind of like my pushback, and it. They started to come along in 2022, but they really didn't take off until last season. So, like we'll see if they win a World Series, but like their team is basically made up of a bunch of guys that they tanked for, and they've all been hitting.
They've tanked for decades, right? Like they tank all the time. The Pirates tank all the time.
True, and it doesn't work. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It has worked for teams. It's worked for the Royals. It worked for the Cubs.
Right.
Right. Like. It's worked for the Marlins multiple times.
The one thing I also find interesting is and we all know, it's a different trade landscape than it was when the Cubs were pulling off this rebuild. Teams are a lot wiser to stacking their young farm system talent instead of trading for guys with no team. Just some of the moves that I think the Cubs took advantage of in that window, I just think that you would be hard-pressed to find a team that would make that move again. Trading half a season of Jeff Samardzija for, Addison Russell, who at the time is the number 3 prospect in baseball. I just think across all sports, there's a way different mindset in front offices and how you're going about acquiring your talent and
that's true.
Accumulating young talent. And
well, I do think it's interesting. I just hadn't thought of it like he was saying, that it's harder than ever for hitting prospects to make those steps, because even at every level, the pitching is ahead. So you're trying to learn things, but you also don't want to look bad. And when you start to dominate at a level, you go to the next one. I get it. You're behind. So it's different than it was in 2015. Your point about the Orioles is good, though, too. Like, the Orioles may say, well, not if you have elite prospects.
Right.
Sometimes the elite guys are ready to go. But we've seen Ellie De La Cruz have his moments of
That's true.
struggle, and he was considered elite. The Pirates have had some guys come up that were supposed to be spectacular.
In some ways, what Jed's saying that kind of feeds to me that he just doesn't think they're as good as the system is ranking-wise. He doesn't think he has any elite prospects. He thinks he has good prospects.
You're reading that's what I was going to get to. So
I still think PCA might be as elite of a prospect that he's had, but he's also super young, and you just knew that the reason that I think he's an elite prospect because he's already an elite outfielder defensively and an elite base runner. So if he can find a way to hit at a league average rate, he can be a 4-WAR player every year. Yeah. And I feel like the last handful of games, he started to hit.
Well, that's the positive. That's something that you're really going to want to watch the last couple months of the season is how does he adjust? I mean, yes, the pressure might back off a little bit because the games won't mean as much. Because so far he's been in games that mean a lot.
Yeah.
End of last season, trying to save the team that was just slumping into the ocean, right? And then now this year, every game is counted up to this point. Like, they got off to the good start, and then it was just sort of like everybody was in a panic mode to try and help turn the thing around. And he was one of the guys called up to try and do it. So, yeah, there potentially will be a lot less pressure the last 2 months of the season, but seeing more major league pitching on a consistent basis
helps.
Could be a very important thing.
And this isn't me talking about how I feel about how the next 2 months will go. I'm just stating the fact that the Cubs are still playoff eligible. Like, they'd have to get hot. Right? So all I'm saying
they'd have to finish one game ahead of last year.
Yeah.
They'd have to go 32-20
the rest of the way.
Of the way. They just went 13-12, is that right? Is that what I said?
Is it 13-12 in July?
I believe they were 13-12 in July. One game over in July.
The point I'm making is that these games still do matter. Like, I think the way the Cubs are going into these games, going into August starting tomorrow, is that we got to win. Mm-hmm. And Craig Counsell continues to put PCA out there because he's the best defensive center fielder they have, and I think if he continues to keep having the at-bats that he's had the last handful of games, honestly, like I watched the clip the Marquee put out before the game. Cliff Floyd was talking about how he thinks PCA should hit leadoff. I'm not there yet because they need him to have better at-bats more consistently. But Cliff Floyd, it was more about a touch and feel, how he feels like he thinks PCA like kind of embraces that role, like wants to be in that role, and it kind of fires him up in a way because it just feels like his head is always on fire, and maybe that would help him, right? I don't know. I love the fact that Counsell put Ian Happ back in the leadoff role. The offense the entire season has always played better when Ian Happ is in the leadoff role. Whatever. But I do think best case scenario for next year for PCA is he plays well enough the rest of the season, goes into spring next year, and shows signs of improvement and earns the leadoff role for next year. Because that guy at the top of the lineup with the speed that he has, once he gets on base, he finds himself on third base very quickly. He did it again tonight.
Has to cut down on a lot of stuff to get there. I wouldn't be opposed to the fact that if the games don't mean anything, that he starts to bat leadoff, in the fact that he'd get the most at bats that way. He might get 10 extra at bats.
Sure.
They might teach him something. I don't know what the magic number is for an amount of at bats, but if 10 more helps him, 10 more helps him.
Yeah. Listen. I think that if there's anything to pay attention to this last 2 months of the year, if you're already, like, if you're not paying attention to the standings anymore or anything like that, just as far as development, he is the biggest face because him and Michael Busch, and if they do call up like Ballesteros or Casey or whoever, but his PCA's bats have looked a lot better over these last handful of games, and like it's just finally nice to see. Like, I've kind of just been holding biting my tongue, I should say. I've been biting my tongue for the last couple months while watching him bat because it's been very frustrating. But I know that he just needs the major league at-bats. Like, that's just the fact. Like, he needs the at-bats. They've given him the at-bats, and he's starting to finally adjust. Just waiting for him to take off. Tonight was a good game for him, so hopefully he builds off it.
Here he is, Mr. Ryan Herrera, live from Cincinnati. Another beautiful background. Once again, he's set up. Looks like in the we could see the center field and left field behind him.
See that boat, whatever the boat.
The fly the W flag.
Like a house over there.
Hold on a second. We can't hear you. You're fine, but it's not turned up loud enough in the studio for us to hear you because the air conditioning is blowing really loudly behind us, Ryan. So just hold on for 1 second. Are you there now?
I'm here. You hear me?
Oh, yeah. We
I can hear you.
There we go.
Yeah, just turn off the AC.
Oh, there he is. First question,
much better.
did you try Skyline Chili?
I have not yet.
Come on, Ryan.
It's the only reason we allowed you to come in.
Hold on. Hey, sorry I'm working. Sorry I'm on assignment working.
This morning, breakfast. What else do you want?
On assignment.
On assignment, I'm working over here. I don't get to just sit in a cozy office and eat Salernos or whatever I want. All right,
Family farms, actually.
Limited hours. Family farms, yeah.
All right, so are you going to get it before you leave?
Office, I don't get.
What time are you leaving tomorrow? What time are you leaving
tomorrow? In the morning, I was thinking about getting it. I just, I don't know how well that will like mix with the 4.5 hour drive home, 5 hour drive home.
To find out, that would be a great idea.
Well, you're driving alone. That's true. By the way, I can't confirm this, but I think we had no thumbs downs. But now we have 3 because you haven't gone to Skyline Chili right away. Bang, bang, bang. People are thumbs down in this podcast.
I think the thumbs down was you guys trying to make me feel bad for not getting Skyline Chili yet. I think that's what it was.
So I got another question.
Don't let the facts get
almost as important.
Almost.
Did we know what happened to PCA trying to run to third there? I watching it. I still don't understand what happened. I thought he was so fast that he was just jogging into third and was just going to be like, look how fast I like. Almost like moonwalking into third. And then I realized he's slowing down so much. And now he's stopping.
And he's looking back, too.
And he's looking back and like, what is going on? And then he just got tagged out.
Yeah.
What happened? Do you know?
No, I'll be honest. Like, we didn't really. I mean, it was a 13-4 game. It's ultimately a situation or a moment in the game, a play in the game that doesn't affect what the scoreboard says. I will say, obviously, as we know, like PCA is a guy that loves to run the bases hard, or loves to run the bases and cause havoc on the bases. And sometimes, as we've seen, that can get in the way a little bit, maybe a little too overzealous. I think that was more last season, but that can still happen for a guy who likes to create chaos on the base path. So I don't know exactly what happened, but could be something along those lines.
Yeah, he was definitely asking Willie Harris something afterwards, and I don't know. I'd be curious down the line to know exactly what happened, just out of a curiosity, because it looked like he was going to be totally safe without having seen it. All right, yeah. Obviously, the offense was great. Where have you been all season? Where have you been all season? How about some of these runs? Like you had 6 guys with 2 hits, 6 guys with 2 hits or more.
Yeah, I mean nine doubles. Right, I think that was their second, or tied the second most in franchise history or something like that. They haven't had that many doubles in a game since 2010. I think was a stat I saw. It's especially against a good pitcher like Lodolo, to go out and have the offensive performance that they put on, and talking about it with like Craig Council, Nico Horner, postgame, even Kyle, like from the pitcher's perspective when pitching with a lead like that. It obviously was a good day, very happy day for those guys on offense. But I think the main thing, one of the things that we talked about a lot was they get that 6-run lead. Kyle gives it the 3-run homer in the 5th, and then cuts lead in half, makes it a save situation, like obviously later in the game. But then they come back, score 3 runs to get those runs back and then just continue to add on, which is just not something we've seen the Cubs do much of in the last 3 months, however long it's been since this offense has kind of been on the decline. We haven't seen them put up a bunch of crooked numbers in a single game. Sorry, I had to say bye to some friends.
And to the people.
Haven't seen them put together a bunch of crooked numbers in games and run up the score like that. But you're able to see that today. And, going back to what Jed Hoyer said yesterday about wanting to see improvements on the offense, wanting to see real progress with the offense because, if the offense can't turn it around and end the season, whether it becomes a playoff appearance or not, if they can't end the season on a positive note over the next 2 months, Jed Hoyer said, rightfully, it creates questions about how do you fix a lineup that went from scoring the 6th most runs in 2023 to doing what the offense has done so far in 2024. So I'm not saying this is like the offensive turnaround. I think we've said that a couple times in the last month or so where it's like, oh, maybe this is the turning point. But it's a good first step, and they have to figure out how to build on that and keep that going in the next 2 months.
Speaking of that, that's another thing that Hoyer was sort of talking about. One thing that sort of scared me about what he was talking about on the score today was he brought that up. He brought up that, hey, we scored the 6th most runs last year, and it's a lot of the same guys. And frankly, it just hasn't happened this season. But I still believe that, the projections are there, and back of the baseball card, guys will play what they're going to play. And I hate the back of the baseball card analogy from everybody. Because if you go to the back of a baseball card, most guys' numbers decline at some point. And so if you're just going to go by back of the baseball card, that's great. But what player doesn't have numbers that decline at some point? If you want to go by the back of the baseball card on Kyle Hendricks, well, of course the numbers are going to go down. You want to go to the back of the baseball card, potentially on Dansby Swanson, it wouldn't be unreasonable that the numbers would start to go down at some point. If you want to go to the back of the baseball card for Yan Gomes, even though we all fell into the trap, it certainly was more than reasonable that he was not going to hit at the projection that he had based on last season or the back of his baseball card because he was old. So I don't know. They have to find ways to fix it. Sorry to get off track. They won 13. They scored 13 runs, and it was a positive.
Luke, this is actually This is the most mad.
I sat in a lot of traffic tonight. I was very upset in the traffic. It was hot. I was in soccer traffic today, and then. For the second straight game, I watched Hendricks with a shutout, and I said, get him out of the game. And then they got runners on, and I said, get him out of the game. And then it was a 3-run homer, and I said, this is on Council. But they came back and scored runs and saved the manager, in my opinion.
This is the most mad Luke has been all season, which
Cody's tried to talk me down.
In some ways is ridiculous considering how much worse it has been. But
they're making Hendricks look worse than he is.
I am enjoying that someone else is mad. Like
it's an individual performance that upsets me.
I don't want to be the only mad person. I can't be. All right. And Corey and Brennan only do their show once a week. So someone else has got to be mad outside of me. So I'll let Luke be mad.
Kyle could have gone 4 straight games without giving up a run. 7 shutout against the Cardinals. The next 3, 4 shutout innings. And in the 5th inning, each time, 3 runs, 6 runs, 3 runs. It's not that hard to figure out.
I don't know that I necessarily agree.
He's not great. He's not great the third time around.
I don't know that I necessarily agree that they should have gotten him out at that point. I mean, it wasn't it 3 consecutive hits, or I don't remember exactly what led up to the home run, but it was like 3 consecutive. Or the first 2 guys got on right, and then right away the home run came. They had a 6-run lead.
Are you saying tonight? Are you talking about tonight's game, or are you talking about the Royals game? Yeah, the Royals game was soft contact. I just said, listen, I don't want to see him go through the lineup again. And once they got 2 guys on, I said, this is bad news. You got to have somebody ready to come in because this is Hendricks, and he's not great the third time around anymore in his career. And that's what I was saying tonight. Like, I wouldn't have pulled him after 4, but once he got into the 5th and there were 2 guys on, I certainly would have had him out after the home run. I would have. And it almost – they got another guy on, and they took the ball to the wall.
Hold on.
And it was almost 5 runs again.
I don't think I agree with that. Just because, like, obviously you get someone loose, which they did after the home run. But you have a 6-run lead. The offense has been taking it to Lodolo. Like, you had a 6-run lead. You still have a 3-run lead at that point. Like, it's different if it's 4-3 or 3. Like, a home run ties the game, right? But you had a pretty big lead. And a home run obviously empties the bases. You're back to pitching. You don't have to worry about base runners anymore. You just got to focus on the batter. That's part of it too. And and at some point, a guy's got to be able to get through 5 innings. You can't be a starter if you can't get through 5 innings. So I think there was factors that I would say I don't think he needed to be taken out after the home run. I can't hear what you're saying, Luke, but I think there's factors that I would say that I don't agree he needed to be out of the game after that home run.
Listen, Little Counts and Little Ross here wrong on this. If it was a different pitcher, I would agree with you. Okay? It's Kyle Hendricks. When he gives up runs, it's in bunches. So to have a guy ready to go in the 5th inning, or at least starting to stretch so that it doesn't take him a long time, and if they get 2 on, you might have him ready. If the home run happens, okay, but then that was the last guy he faced. They scored 6 runs in the blink of an eye in that game against the Royals. You're like, well, it's a scoreless game. Why would you have anybody ready? It's a scoreless game. He's pitching a shutout. He was pitching a 1-hitter tonight, right? And I was like, well, okay, yeah, but I still would have somebody ready around the 5th inning because that's when he starts to give up his bunches of runs based on back of his baseball card or whatever you want to say. And it's sure enough, there it goes.
I think we agree to disagree. I mean, like, he gave up the home run. I'm not going to, like, say that.
And then he gave a hard hit and another ball to the wall.
But to make sure someone's up at that point, absolutely. I just, like, it also happened, again, I think it was a 3 consecutive
He needs to at least have a guy up, ready to go. Somebody needs to be stretching before that inning even starts.
Oh, stretching before the inning even starts.
I want a guy off the bike, stretching and doing a little soft toss before that inning even starts. Then 2 are on. Kyle.
Like I said,
I'm okay
they
with
won
getting
13-4.
Just getting a guy's blood flowing before all that. I don't disagree with that. Like,
okay.
You get a guy, guy's blood flowing. I think one thing that Council acknowledged afterwards is around the 5th, 6th inning, like second time to the order, there have been issues with that. So
yeah.
I'm saying, like, I don't think Kyle needed to be pulled after the home run, but I can agree with that. Like, hey, maybe you call down and get a guy, just have him walk around a little bit, maybe a light jog around the bullpen and get the blood flowing. I don't disagree with that.
I admitted that I'm a dope, but if I can sit and see that it's coming 3 straight games, how could the $8 million man not see it coming? That's what baffles me. I don't even know what I'm talking about most of the time. This time I know what I'm talking about.
I'm letting Luke win this one just so I just think you keep using the Royals game and this game
and the game before that. But 4 shutout innings before that. 3 runs in the 5th inning.
But again, it's different situations. It's a
6-run
lead
up
versus
6-0 tonight.
0-0 game or whatever it was at that point.
If it's a close game like it was against the Royals, I can lean a little bit more on what you're saying. But if you're up 6-0, your pitcher should be able
should be,
yes.
But that's my point, is that it's Kyle, and Kyle can give up 6 runs faster than you can get a guy warming up when he's off.
I'm disappointed
because he's not throwing hard enough.
As Kyle Hendricks' biggest supporter on this podcast, I'm really disappointed in you.
No, I'm supporting him. I think he should have had 4 straight shutout games. Just
then some of
the outings would have been 4 1/3 only.
And I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable.
Yeah.
Look at how good the bullpen was.
If you're a starter, man. If you're a starter, you got to be able to get through 5 at some point.
Yeah.
You
I think he's got to.
He went 7 shutouts.
You got to at least at this point in his career, you got to expect at least 5 innings. And again, we all know the only reasons in the rotation is because of injuries.
I'm trying to win games to get these guys to the postseason.
No, you're not.
All right. Joey says we got to go. Any other nuggets?
Right? We could go as long as you want. Go as long as you want. I'm just saying, we're good.
This is the wildest I've ever seen Luke Stuckmeyer in the 2.5 years.
I'm just trying to get him to the finish line. They're only 7 back in the wild card.
I heard you guys talking about PCA when I had called in, right? Like, about just kind of improvements that we feel like we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Was I mishearing that, or was that kind of the conversation?
2 hits tonight?
Yeah. 2 hits. I think the double he had was like 102 something miles per hour exit velo, something like that. And I actually asked Craig Council before the game, like, just what that, obviously it felt like, and you look at some of the numbers, like he was hitting the ball hard or squaring up the ball a little bit more. Just what was he seeing out of Pete? I think he said over the last couple weeks of games that he has seen that he has seen those improvements, and a lot of the times it's like incremental positive steps, right? Like you don't always get to see obviously like the results still aren't quite there. I think if you look at the numbers, but you're seeing just the way he's hitting the baseball, maybe a little bit of bad luck's baked in there, but the way he's hit the ball a little bit harder lately, squared the ball up a little bit more lately. Like those are incremental positive steps for a guy who's still at this point really learning the major league game and learning how to hit at the major league level. And while Council also acknowledged that obviously there's some chase in Pete Crow-Armstrong's game, which we see any positive steps in that direction, lowering the chase a little bit. The more he can lower that, the more positive it's going to be as far as his overall offensive game. And so, yes, like the Cubs are seeing progress from Pete Crow-Armstrong offensively at the plate. It may not be leading to like amazing results. Obviously, today was a good day at the plate for him for the most part. It may not be leading to great overall results, but again, for a guy that's at the major league level, getting his first full season in the big leagues, basically still learning how to hit at this level, like especially going into these last 2 months post trade deadline, just continuing to see positive steps, progress, improvements at the plate from this guy who's like their number one prospect going into the year. That stuff's important and can help tell you what Pete Crow-Armstrong can be moving forward.
We have confirmation from Roki in the live YouTube chat what happened to PCA. He stopped at third base because Willie Harris's arm had fallen off after waving 99% of the runners home this season. So there it is. Now we know what happened.
There you go.
He wasn't sure what to do because his arm had fallen off. Okay.
He only states facts, as he says in the chat.
That's right.
He didn't spell facts correctly, but I'm just going to say it's spelled F-A-X.
Ryan.
Also three consecutive Who You Got wins.
Actually, no. Tonight's goes to Joey, right? You were the only one that picked, and you picked Dansby. He was like 1 for 4. That's 250.
Yeah, double.
You weren't here, but in the office, I picked Suzuki.
That's right.
Well,
I heard it.
I don't remember you being the commissioner.
I heard it. You know what, Ryan? How about we do this? If Ryan's able to bring back a napkin from Skyline Chili with just a little corner of chili on it, which would be proof, we'll give him the Who You Got win. Otherwise, Joey is really on a tear right now. Joey's on a tear.
Before we get out of here, I would just like to update the score for Rays and Cubs. It is now tied 1-1. Morel hit a homer today, but Isaac Paredes 4 total bases today and was hit by a pitch, and the Cubs won. And he scored 3 runs. I would say that he tied them up. And Morel
tagged out a runner at third.
He did hit a homer today. He also hit into a double play and struck out twice. And I know this YouTube chat, if the Cubs would have lost like the Rays did today and Morel hit a homer and then struck out twice and hit into a double play, you all would have came into the YouTube chat and bitched and complained. So I'm giving Paredes the point. Credit to me. 1-1. We're tied.
Right. Are you going to be back? You're not coming to work tomorrow night, are you? Ryan?
No.
You going to be in here?
No.
Just travel day.
Travel day, yeah.
Travel day.
Big travel day. Potentially Skyline Chili Day. We'll see. I'll update you guys.
That's a full day in itself right there. Could be the gift that keeps on giving the whole night long. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Good luck with the trip and the Skyline Chili. And thanks to everybody who watched. A 13-4 Cubs win. We're back for a post-game show tomorrow after the game. Until then, fly the W.